Good evening. My name is Odie Hawkins, and we've had technical difficulties that we'll have to speak about, just so that those who follow what we're doing here, Zola, Salena-Hawkins, and myself. Zola, why don't you come over here so that
Okay.
you can be seen as one of the members of the gang?
And one of the members of the gang. Okay.
But I'm trying to start off in a sparky way so that
Yes.
those who are tuning in once again may understand. Usually, as you know, this program usually takes place on Monday evening. But yesterday evening, somehow the camera had some gremlins in it that wouldn't run away until Zola did whatever she did. What did you do?
I decided to go to another camera.
Oh. Okay, it shows you what happens when you're a producer and you got a technical mind.
Right, okay.
Anyway, she did that. And what we were talking about last night, which I guess has just been wiped up in cyber ethos.
Yes, it is.
Cyber clouds.
Right.
What we were talking about last night was, first of all, well, this book. This is called the Bilbrew Writers Anthology. The title is Looking Back, Stories of Resilience.
Stories of resilience.
Of,
Yes.
it's, yeah, like you could...
Children's resilience.
Okay, I'll buy that. What I thought we would talk about before we really got into this, I wanted to use my background in the Watch Writers Workshop as a reference point. I came to California in 1966 in response to what I saw on television in Chicago that had to do with the Watts Rebellion, which a lot of mainstream publications have labeled the Watts riots. I found out as soon as I got here that it was not riots, it was a rebellion. People were just simply tired of being mistreated by the police.
I'm not going to take it anymore.
I'm not going to take it anymore, so they would start raising hell.
Because I'm mad as hell and I'm not
I'm mad as hell.
I'm not going to take it anymore.
It was an interesting time. Why did I come? I know. It seems crazy. I'm watching the television and I thought to myself, you know what? This is 1965. The rebellion happened in 1965, August 1965. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at it. 1965 in America, if you can recall, was not a very good time to be a black man in America.
Or woman.
Because there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it seemed that we were going to have to go to a complete war in order to be able to vote. I had just gotten out of the Army in 1964, and I'm asking myself, even though I was a draftee, why would I have to go around begging some people to allow me to vote after I'd been wearing a uniform and
fighting for the country?
Well, I didn't fight for it, fortunately.
No.
I was fortunate. The Vietnam War started 3 months. They started drafting people, sending them over to Vietnam 3 or 4 months after I was discharged.
Yeah, honorably discharged.
Honorably discharged.
Right.
I made it.
Yeah, but you had to deal with a lot in the South. Okay, that children were being, people were lynching.
Well, okay, that's another story. Depending on it, I'm finding, I think maybe for those people of color, you find that there's certain eras that you can point back to that were worse than other eras. I mean, people were being
11 o'clock.
lynched. People were being lynched in the South, but they were being lynched in the North too. I mean, it is not the best of times.
No, it was not.
In any case, like I said, I was looking at what was happening in Los Angeles, and I thought to myself, I need to be there. I need to go to Los Angeles. I want to be a part of that. So I did. I jumped on the plane, and luckily, I was working at the post office, and they had some kind of crazy thing so that you could switch. If somebody in Juneau, Alaska wanted to come to Chicago, I don't know who would want to do that.
Right.
But you could exchange. So I put in an exchange request, and lo and behold, somebody in Beverly Hills wanted to come to Chicago, so I made an exchange.
Maybe had family or no.
I don't know. I don't care.
Okay.
All I know is I don't ever.
They opened the door for you.
They opened the door.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about caring when I was supposed to care. All I was concerned about. So I came, and within a short time, the following year, before the year was out, in 1966, a man named Bud Schulberg, Hollywood screenwriter, wrote On the Waterfront and What Makes Sammy Run and several other very good novels, decided to start something called Watch Writers Workshop. His theory about it as to what kind of social uplifting could happen is that if you have people who have something artistic to do, something that they wanted to do, it would serve the purpose of tamping down social unrest. That was something like the theory behind it.
So it was the firewater of the time.
It was the firewater of the time.
Right. Just
I
calm
like
them
that.
down.
I like that. Calm them down.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped off the plane and ran straight to the Watts Writers Workshop, right there in Watts, 103rd. And fast forwarding it, I wound up, I mean, some of the very best writers were coming from Hollywood, white, mostly. One lady, Louise Merriweather, was not a Hollywood writer. She was a story editor, I think, at Universal Studios. When she came, people just came and tried to help those of us who were interested write screenplays and so forth. My best writer, I mean my best teacher for me was a man named John W. Block.
Yes.
Block was very hard, very difficult, but very, very straightforward.
Old school.
Old school, they call it.
Yeah.
He had me to rewrite a story, short story, something like 2 years. I didn't write it constantly, but I would write it and then put that aside. He reads it, and then while he's reading that, I'm writing something else. And by the time I get to the third piece, he comes back at me with the first piece that I wrote and say, okay, what kind of dog does this family have?
Right. Okay.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Yeah, the details.
Yeah, that's the devil's in the details.
The devil's in the details. Oh, you're hot tonight.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, Watch Writers Workshop.
So forwarding.
Fast forward, we're done with John W. Block. And he gave me the opportunity to get into a number of screenplays. Only one of them was produced, had been produced.
Well, he was able to help you so that you were able to get an agent, Stu Robinson. Right?
He had an agent, Stu Robinson, and I think his name was Sidney Weintraub, Robinson Weintraub. And I didn't know what a big thing it was, you know, have an agent. Suddenly I had an agent, and a very good one.
Yes.
Who got me these gigs. So I came up through that experience all the way up to now.
And so how did you get into the Bill Writers Workshop?
2013, I know from looking at the book.
Okay.
2013, Rose Mitchell, who was a head of the Black Resource Center at Bilbrook Library.
An extraordinary woman.
Extraordinary woman. Bilbrook Library, for those who might be interested in knowing, is on El Segundo between Avalon and Maine.
The Black Resource is in that facility.
Okay, that was one of the separate sections in the library itself. It was a county library. I think it was unusual because it was in a mainly black and brown neighborhood, and they had, mainly because of Rose Mitchell, they always had programs going on. They still do to a certain extent, but it was, during her time, it was a hot moment.
Yes.
Okay. I went to Bill Brew Library to see James Baldwin one afternoon, who gave his little thing. When she got in touch with me, she said one of the people who comes to the library, a lady named Patricia Forte, is writing a novel, and she thought she'd like to be in the company of other creative people who might be able to give us some little feedback.
Which obviously is a good idea.
Yeah, you know, I think it's helpful sometimes. You know, if you box, you want to hang out with the boxers.
Right.
If you write, you want to hang out with the writers.
If you're a matador, you want to hang out with the matadors.
You certainly don't want to be with the bulls.
Or any bull.
Or any bull.
Okay. By the way, get yourself some libation or a snack while you're watching her.
I'm drinking acai, and this stuff is like some kind of berries. Very
very healthy for you, and I'm taking Camilla tea.
Okay, so that's what we got. Going right along. Patricia Forte was actually the captainist. Rose Mitchell was the communicator. I went over to Bill Brew, and we had a talk, and I managed to have a background with doing writing classes after I had been in the Watch Writers Workshop for about 4 or 5 years. And the woman who was leading the class I was in, Louise Merriweather, decided she was going to be going back to New York. So she suggested that me and a lady named Elvie Whitney should continue doing the workshop. Not just the workshop, we had several. San Bernardino, one down here in Long Beach on Lyon, and then of course in Watts. So you know, I felt confident. I had the experience. When you come in under the wing of somebody like John Block or Louise Merriweather, these people could give you.
Yeah, they prepare you.
Okay, for example, we are certified Tai Chi teachers. We were certified by the School of Healing Martial Arts
in Long Beach, California.
In Long Beach, California, and the school was established by Dr. Daniel Hoover. Okay, the reason I put that in is because having received that certification, it qualifies us to be teaching a Tai Chi class. The same thing happened. I didn't have a diploma from the Watch Writers Workshop from Louise Merriweather or John W. Block, but since I had the practical experience, and I read a lot, so.
And you were favored. You know, you went through their school in a sense.
I did. I did. I did.
And listened and obeyed, and they decided that you had learned enough that you could develop a program yourself.
That's true.
Right, and they did this. You know, they did the teaching for free.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh yeah.
Which is, you know, and then you encompassed. You know, you started teaching it for free, relatively. Okay.
Well, I felt that I felt that I owed that to my community. I mean, you know, yeah, I felt I owed it to my community. And, you know, we get in the habit of selling off what it is you think is valuable sometimes. Right,
and so after your directorship, there was Patricia Forte, and now we have Charles Chapman, who's the present director of the building.
I had 5 years, and I thought, okay, I've done this long enough. There were some wonderful writers who came through the early Bill Brew Writers Anthology, I mean, through the workshop. There's some really marvelous writers. But we gradually ironed it down to about 8, sometimes 10, depending on some whoever might come in. And after 5 years or so, I thought, okay, I've had enough. It's not to pass it off to. Ironically, I thought the best person to pass it off to would be Patricia Forte.
Yes.
Patricia Forte said, okay, it's cool. She sat in the chair for, I think, about a couple of years.
Right.
And she thought, well, I think it's past.
Time to go.
She was still in the workshop, but she wanted to be less responsible, I think, for other people's work. So we wound up with the brother Charles Chapman, who is presently we're a little bit at odds about whether or not we want to call the leader of our workshop the leader or the director or...
We pretty much decided director, you know.
Okay, so he's now the current director, and this is what you were saying.
Well, I was going to go the same place you're going.
Oh, okay. So having chatted you up with that little bit of info, we thought we would talk about things. I'll just give you a little intro about how it is that I got into it. Okay, and I mentioned Tai Chi at the same time.
Well, while you're mentioning that, you may wonder what these...
Are we going all over the place?
Yes, we're going all over. Follow us, okay? So, against the wall, there's our certification from School of Healing Martial Arts. There's a wonderful design that our friend Mato gave us. And I also have a certificate from Master Tom Tran, who was my initial teacher in Tai Chi Chuan.
Our teacher?
Our initial teacher, yes, in Tai Chi Chuan.
Okay, so that's yet another school. I think the point we're trying to make is that you don't always have to find yourself in a formal setting in order to learn what you think you need to know.
You know, especially in today's world, I'm not saying that you have to go to an AI instructor, but you can go online, like I'm learning sign language, American Sign Language. And I wake up every morning and I start my ABCs and going on and my counting 1, 2, 3. And I feel pretty good that I'm developing a vocabulary there, as well as also working on my Spanish. So I'm saying all this is that it helps to be well-rounded if you want to write.
That's a point, that's a point. Yeah, I was getting ready to ask, what influence has Tai Chi had on the fact that you're a writer? When I name the names here, you'll see that this little lady over here in the corner is the same as this little lady over in the corner. She is one of the founding members of the Billboard Writers Workshop, and you were saying?
And I was saying, well, while we're mentioning the names, there's Rona White, Odie Hawkins, Jerry Boyd, Patricia Forte, Ron Dow, and Zola.
Okay, Charles Chapman's picture is not there. I don't know why.
Yeah, come to think of it, you should have had his picture.
I think he had one picture in the interior, but I can never find it when I want to find it.
Right. Well, we do say that there is Phyllis Jenkins. She was one of the people that helped us put the book together, and of course.
Well, let me bring us up to how we came up with the book. We had several anthologies published during the course of the time I started, during the 5-year period that I served. We had, but it was more
in-house.
In-house. It was a Xerox affair. We had people do the best kind of work they could do, and then we all put it together and stapled it and
bound it. Okay.
Stapled it.
No, it was professionally put together.
We did as well as we could, and we had several artists do covers. One I remember really well. It was a hummingbird on the front cover of it, in black and white.
Yeah, that was Jillian's idea. Yeah.
Okay, so now here we are once again during the course of the time that Pat was leading the workshop. We started talking about doing a more formal job of publishing some of our works. So we came up with this little book.
Right. It's 100 and some pages, so it's a quick read. And, you know, if you review your own childhood, perhaps there are stories that you would like to share with family. And since it was when I'm talking in the book about my early childhood, I don't mention my brother or my sister and other family members. Because, as you know, as a child, you tend to have, it tend to be like on one block or one house. You know, you don't think about all the other people that are surrounding you.
Well, the thing that's I found fascinating is the fact that each one of these people is talented. That includes yours truly and yours truly. So I don't have to, you know, fiddle-faddle around about whether or not the book was worthwhile being published. I would say it was worthwhile. It was worthwhile being published, if for no other reason than I could read the stories of 6 people, including my own story, which came out of somewhere, and each of them shows a remarkable sense of fortitude, a remarkable sense of resilience. Each of us went through a hell of a lot in order to become adults. Some of us, well, I mean, there's only 6 of us, so I can say all 6 of us have had the kind of wounds emotionally that might have denied you the opportunity to become creative. I could just point, for example, at Ron Dow, who talks about his early problems with drugs and alcohol, and what he did to recover from that, and to go on to earn degrees and various sorts from different institutions. Institutions sound like jail, not jail, but schools.
Through the educational process.
Educational. I can say the same thing for myself, and of course Zola is speaking for herself.
Right.
So what we did was to put our experiences, the things we'd had happen to us, not a lot,
No.
but like, I think, in some ways I think of this as an advertisement for, this might be, each one of these short stories in here might be the trailer for what might be a bigger volume, a larger volume.
Right.
This is just simply skimming the surface. Pat Forte example, for example, is talking about growing up in Port of Chicago. Port of Chicago is one of those almost unknown stories that happened during the Second World War, when they had black stevedores. Actually, they were sailors, and they made them stevedores, freight handlers.
Okay.
Okay, and at one point, they were designated to unload a ship that was filled with explosives. And during the course of that happening, I can't remember the number of men, but it was, I think it was something like 300 working together, and this explosion killed about 3/4 of these men. Soon thereafter, the powers that be ordered these same African-American soldiers, then called Negroes,
Right.
to go back and finish unloading other ships, and they rebelled.
Okay.
And they were court-martialed, they were taken to jail, and they spent time, but they refused to, because they said, first of all, they were not being given the kind of safety measures were not being.
Compensation, right. The compensation or the safety. If money doesn't mean anything if you're dead.
It doesn't mean anything.
Okay, right. No.
I believe that eventually, after a period of time, they were exonerated, and people admitted that it was racially prejudiced and so forth and so on. She writes briefly about that kind of thing, but more than anything, she talks about growing up and what it took to become a writer. I'm saying in the little notes that I made that these 6 people, I include us, have to be some of the most honest writers that you'll ever come across, because nobody spared themselves. They talked about what they did and whether it was right or wrong,
Right.
but it is something that they did.
Right. So I should mention that this book is available now. Again, publication date was March 1st, and you can purchase it on Amazon or Kindle. And I should know the price now, but it evades me at this moment. But I will put it down in the write-up. And again, where you can get it. Odie's website I should mention, is www.odiehawkins.com. O-D-I-E Hawkins.
Oh, incidentally, these are some of the books I've written.
Yes.
I actually have 38 right now, 38 published books. And I forgot to mention, we wound up doing this upon the advice of a friend who said, hey, you're supposed to be the underground master or something. Why can't I find your books? And where do you advertise? So we decided, after having consulted a number of people who wanted to take advantage of our innocence,
Right.
we decided to do it ourselves and treat this as though these might be apples or oranges or...
Right.
So
Yes,
these books, if you're looking for a great apple...
Are delectable. Delectable.
These are delicious, I'm telling you. Oh no, you're supposed to say that.
They are delicious.
Yeah, these are delicious.
You know, and what I love about the stories, and of course I'm a bit prejudiced because I am the wife, but there is at least one book that he's written that I don't like.
Oh.
I won't mention it, but mostly the characters are so memorable that when you read the books, you wonder, you put the book down, and then you think you actually know the person that's in the book because the character's detail is so well done.
Okay, I was told, I was informed, it was pushed into my head that if you're not designing, if you're not designing and creating characters who form that kind of memory bank in your mind, then maybe you should find something else to do.
Exactly.
One of the things we joke about is that you can sometimes hear supposedly talented people sing on the radio as you drive down the street, and all you can think about is, why would she sing? Or why did he? Who told him that he could sing?
His mother.
While he was in the shower, right?
Yes.
You sing, go make a record. Listen,
well, before you go, just want to mention that we really truly believe one has to strive to go on with their life, no matter what else is going on in the world. There's the fires that were in LA, there's Ukraine, there's the situation in the government. However, I often say, I am glad I am not God.
Oh,
Okay?
thank God I'm not God.
And I don't know anybody on this planet who is God, no matter how much they say they can fix everything. And so I think it's a good time to read. And it's a good time to enjoy life. So appreciate lights, water, comforts of your home, of your environment, your family. Because these are challenging times.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. We are sitting here at the end of an evening of television that probably was.
Ooh.
We don't have to discuss that. So, following what it is that she just said, no matter how gruesome it seems to be, we can all rise above it by sticking to your guns. I don't mean that literally, but by sticking to your guns.
Your principles.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
If you write, don't hesitate. But don't be afraid to take criticism, because frequently criticism comes out of love.
Yeah.
Somebody who's willing to say to you, I think that would be a good story if you changed the character of the lead character. And if you see the possibility of that happening and you do it, you might be ahead of the game.
Well, in fact, I appreciate how well our criticism was taken for one of our classes that we teach, and we videotaped the individuals and gave them a written
Critique, yeah.
And for the most part, they really took it well. And it shows that they're going to be exceedingly better Tai Chi students in the future.
Having said that, I don't think there's any more we need to say. Appreciate you hanging around with us till Tuesday evening.
Yes.
But it'll get better, and we can iron the bugs out.
And
this is our anthology.
yes. Looking back, stories of resilience. think of your own stories of resilience.
Ah.
Maybe you'd like to share them with your own family. Okay. All right, thank you.
Hey, gotta run.
Okay, if you like this video, please subscribe. Appreciate it.
Wow.